Okay, here we are with another episode of a podcast about names and other stuff. And hopefully, if you haven't already, you should go back and listen to the last episode with my friend Idalia, as you learn about her name, her beautiful name. It was Idalia, Idalia de Clara de la Luna. Oh man, you know what? Good thing you're going to hear her say it again at the beginning of this episode. So yes, beautiful name. But also this episode, you're going to hear some less, I guess you could say beautiful things. Yeah, that's fair to say. You're going to learn about, domestic violence and what it's like to be a survivor of that. About somebody who moves a lot, something that even myself and my kids know about. And then finally, you're going to hear about this idea of dreaming for the future and dreams that we have for the future. So again, thank you for being on this journey with me and hearing from other people. And I hope that you enjoy what's been going on so far this season. We're going to take a little bit of a break after this episode. It'll be a while before the next episode comes out. But definitely in the meantime, feel free to listen, share, comment, and hopefully you've enjoyed what we've been able to do so far in a podcast about names and other stuff. So we're recording again, and this is our second episode. And if you're listening, you didn't hear the last one, you need to go back because that one was good stuff. It's always good when I'm with you.
Hey.
Yeah. But I forgot. I'm sorry, I forgot your middle name. So it's Idalia
Clara
Luna. Oh, that's
yes.
right, because you said it was like the was it?
Or in
flower of the clear moon? No, flower of the beautiful moon.
Flower of the clear moon.
Clear moon. I was clear. I'm like, Clara is clear, but I thought you said no. Flower of the clear moon.
Yes. Flower of the clear moon.
Is there actually a flower?
Dahlia? Yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the dahlia. Yeah. Why didn't I think? Yes, that makes sense.
The dahlia. Not to be confused with the black dahlia.
Yeah, no, that's different.
Yeah. Definitely different.
Yes. All right. So, okay, enough wandering about your name. Go back, listen to the last episode. Okay. But this one, I wanted to start with this quote from President Jimmy Carter. He said this. He said, "The abuse of women and girls is the most pervasive and unaddressed human rights violation on earth." Something that I've been trying to work with at the church I pastor in with the young people there, but also I did this at the high school, and I worked at the high school. And I've seen in society, women are not treated right, to understate it. It's an understatement,
yeah.
But the world has an issue when it comes to how we treat women. And so something that I've struggled with is not only do I need to work on me treating them better, but also trying to be an advocate and defending women. Not that women need defending per se. They are equal and strong in all those things. But unfortunately, the systems as they exist and the culture as it exists, we need more men who are standing up on behalf of women to clear the space for them to speak up for themselves. So that's something I try and do within my home, how I relate with my own sons, with my own daughters, of teaching them to not accept things within the church I work in, within the community. But I know that also speaks to a part of your experience as well, this idea of not being treated in the way that a woman deserves to be treated.
Oh, yeah.
So share with that. I mean, and would that title be Survivor, or how would you want to title that name?
I would say survivor for sure.
Okay.
100%. I think that we have so much as a society, as a world house, that we need to do still in that area. You know, we still are seeing women sold into slavery, sex trafficking. And so it breaks my heart. And I think my experience allows me access to individuals who are experiencing trauma and a crisis. And so I use what I've known, what I've gone through, what I've lost, what I've to be able to help navigate. And I think when you're in that abuse, it's pitch dark black. Mm-hmm. And if I had to use an analogy, I'm like this flashlight. I may not know the way correctly out of it, but I can illuminate something. I can help you and walk with you out of that process, or pass you on to someone else who can get you there. I do this thing with here and with all of our clients, regardless if it's our jurisdiction or not. We do a warm transfer. We make sure that they're connected with someone who can help them. Because if I feel like I can't just say, I'm sorry, that's not what we do, you know?
Yeah.
But it goes all the way back to my childhood. I think one of my core memories may have been when I was like 4, maybe even 3, but I think I was 4. And I remember my dad grabbing me by my hair and hitting me and just shaking me, saying, "Speak already."
Wow.
I was nonverbal for like 5 or 6 years of my life. Like, I have a speech impediment, you know? So it took a while to learn how to speak. It took a lot of therapy, a lot of doctor visits in order to be able to even speak. And my mom, you know, now jokes about it. She's like, "Boy, we can't get you to stop now," you know?
Yeah.
So it's, she, you know, and she'll say, you know, like, that was one of the hardest things as a parent that she had to experience. But I think I remember having this reoccurring dream for a very long time, and I never shared it. And my mom, I think it was like 3 years ago, she's like, "I just want to share something with you because you've been talking about your sexual abuse and what you've gone through as a child. And I think I owe you to tell you what happened." And so my dream was always like, you know, don't want to be in a closet, and I'm scared, and I'm locked in this closet, and I'm trying, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes I'll get this dream even now as an adult. It's this reoccurring dream that happens, and I'm like fighting to open this door. Yeah. And I think in part in first episode, right, the other episode, we talked about like my mom's schedule, right? And so that meant even as a young child, we were, you know, we had babysitters that took care of us, or the next door neighbor, you know. So mom just really leaned on her community, on her village, to really be there for us when she was trying to work 2 jobs and go to school. And so I don't recall it. All I have is the dreams and my mom telling me the story. But apparently when I was even just an infant and a toddler, I was sexually abused. So that dream so she had came and found me in the closet. Wow. And I didn't know why. Like, but when I started to share, I was like, I always get this dream, you know, like. And so she just felt really burdened to like release that finally. And I told her thank you. And man, the burden that she was carrying for so long. And so I experienced, you know, sexual abuse by a step uncle. And I also saw abuse. My mom, it's a generational curse, first of all. So you have to.
Because you said your grandmother was trafficked.
Yeah. So, and married off, like, probably, we don't really know her age. Like, we had to actually pull her tooth out. Like, she had 19 kids. So let's start there, right? So she had 19 kids. And so, you know, obviously bone loss is very prevalent in women who give birth to that many children. And she was losing her teeth. And so they were like, the doctor was like, we can take that to the lab and kind of determine really how old you are. Yeah. And so her lab result date was December 6th. And so they figured, according to your age and after having 19 kids, we think you were born in 1923, right? Wow. And so so her birth date she didn't even really have a birth date until her lab results after like being in her 50s and late 40s, you know? So she experienced being married off early, you know, and having kids as early as 13 or 14. And then my mom having a limited education and being in abusive relationships, that's something, and then having her second husband's brother, you know, do what he did to me, which realizing I was the first one to speak up. I endured for like, I think 6 years almost because I didn't know. And then now that my mom telling me, you know, from an infant being exposed to that kind of trauma to toddler, And then, so I thought maybe there was something wrong with me, or maybe this is how love is supposed to be, or this is acceptable because I've experienced it for so long. And then finally going to a class, a sex education class. I think it was the first semester in 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so realizing, oh, this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
And then coming forth and sharing and speaking about it and saying, okay, he did this to me.
Yeah.
And not expecting, like you're thinking, okay, I came and told my parents, they're going to do something about it. No. Now it became, this is culturally taboo. This is a family business. We don't share this with, school educators or administrators. And so we're going to dust this under the rug. We're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? No. And then still having to see this person at family functions and invited to the house still.
Yeah.
And, now I felt like I was fighting alone. So talk about a rebel period, that I went through, because I was like, screw it. I'm going to be angry, so just like.
But rightfully so.
Rightfully so, because I wasn't, like, even when I spoke up, nobody came to my aid.
Yeah.
And the people that you trusted the most, and, your parents, your family and everyone. And it took for other cousins of mine, like from that marriage, to come up and say, and even his own biological sister to come up and say, I've been abused, but it took me first to say the story. And it took the shame and being told, just don't say anything. We're not going to report it. And I was going through therapy at the time. And, I was like, he's still coming to the house. And they're like, and my mom swore, she's like, oh, I reported it to the police. And so having the school counselor telling me there was never a report.
Wow.
And dealing with that hurt, for a long time, like I had to deal with, I hated my mom.
Yeah.
She didn't fight for me. She didn't defend me. You know what? When I become a mom, I'm not going to do that crap.
Yeah.
I'm going to go hard. I'm going to fight. And then realizing, oh man, when I became a mom, Mom was doing the best that she could.
She thought she was fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she, left the relationship and everything after a while. And but yeah, that was tough.
So how do you or what do you do to try and prevent that from passing on? Because you talk about generations.
Yeah, my mom was abused.
Yeah.
By her stepdad, and then and of course her mom, my grandmother, told her, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
So that's what she did.
So what are you doing now? Because I know like a struggle that I have sometimes as a parent is there's this temptation almost to overparent, because it's like, I'm not going to let this go to my kid, but then I might actually overdo it and give it to my kid.
Right.
So like, how do you balance that out? Like,
it's still a balancing act. But for me, having these honest conversations, and I've always told my kids, no matter what, I can advocate and fight and work with the truth. That's all I can do. And I'm here for you. And if anything, know that I would go to hell and back for you. Like I would take it. Creating that space to have those conversations and talking to them about what's appropriate as early, and talking about boundaries.
Yeah.
People were like, and I guess that's a part of gentle parenting, maybe. I might be guilty of that.
And here we went talking bad about it last episode.
I know, right? But I remember early on, like, telling my kids, you don't have, because it's in our custom to, like, give a hug, give a kiss on the cheek, ask for a blessing, bendición, right?
Yeah.
And then, the elder will say, Dios te bendiga, which is God bless you. Yeah. And even though I cherish that, but I know that it would give me the creeps when I had to do it to that uncle, And so, or now that I have that inclination, I can pick up people's, like I have a discernment with that. Like if I don't get a good vibe, or I feel that feeling, I just, hey, how are you? I don't want to do that physical interaction of a hug. I don't know you yet. And I trust that more so now. And so when I was telling my kids, like from early on, from when they could have conversations with me, I was very helicopter parent until they became verbal, if that makes any sense. Because I felt like now we've got a way to communicate.
Yeah.
Now I can be able to, if something's wrong, they can tell me.
Yeah.
So my kids wouldn't go anywhere or stay the night anywhere. I wouldn't leave them with anyone until they could verbally tell me. And we had to have the conversation early on. These are appropriate touches. This is inappropriate touch. These are your boundaries. And if someone says, "Oh, give auntie or uncle a kiss," you don't have to.
Yeah.
And if they have a problem with that, they can talk to me.
Yeah.
And I can tell them why.
Yeah.
And so now the kids joke about it. They're 22, soon to be 23, 14, and 10, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, "My mama don't play." Like, they're like, "She don't play. Like, you don't want me to call my mama about this. How you treated me. Like, she's not about that." And we go hard. And one of the things that I go to the wall for, right? There's certain things I go to the wall for. And safety, honesty, those are things that I go to the wall for. Our quality time as a family. That's yeah. So that's what I do. That's what I've done with the boys, especially, and my daughter as well. Is just to, everyone gets the same. Like, and I'm all about. I can't be preaching about equity if I don't have it. Gender norms of what a particular group has to do. Oh, my daughter does the dishes. Boys do the yard work. No, we all do it.
My son was sitting down because this is him. He doesn't like to stand and do the dishes. So he was literally sitting in a chair at the sink last night for like 30-some minutes doing dishes. And I was just like, yeah, that's my son. And my wife was like, "Hey, how come you're doing the dishes and not?" She's like, "Well, we talked about it. I want to do the dishes and she's doing this other part." And my wife's like, "I think you got to shorten the deal." He's like, "No, I'm good." I'm sitting right here with one headphone in, scrubbing away.
That's right. You know, so we all pitch in. We all do what we need to do. But I think that when we start to break down what women are supposed to be like, you're supposed to be a good lady. Well, a good lady to me is going to be advocating. It's going to be fighting. It's going to be speaking up. It's going to make sure that, we are seen. And so those are qualities of a good lady for me. Not be quiet, know your place, speak when spoken to, and your job is maybe important,
Yeah.
No. I think that we all bring value to our family circle. We bring value to our community. And, when I talk about my experiences as it carried on to abusive relationships and being accepted, in my mind, thinking at that time that that's acceptable because that person was a provider. So I'll take these, like, he's hitting me, but, man, he's paying this mortgage. Man, he's, like, I don't have to work. Like, all I got to do is cook dinner. Like,
And get hit occasionally.
Like, man, if I just was quicker in serving that dinner, boy, And so it took me losing everything, realizing that I'm important. My life is important. And I literally had a blue tote, 15-gallon tote. All of my life's possessions, everything I owned, everything I loved was in that blue tote. I lost everything. But I gained so much, and it was a journey. It was a lot of women who were able to pour into me, to be healed from a lot of that trauma and that hurt, and recognizing those flags, and then now making sure that I share what those flags are, not only with my children, but with other people. Like, you are valuable to us. And I think that we as a nation and some of our policies, we have so much room to grow. And my body is my body.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's a thing that we need to grow. As you were describing that too, and you're talking about like having your blue tote, and I know you talked quite a few times about that in public spaces. But as you talk about, the journey is a journey, and thinking about how you are now here in Hopkinsville, I would say that you're a traveler. Maybe that's one of the reasons I like hanging out with you, because I'm a traveler myself. We're my wife and I are nomads, I guess. I don't know, but I mean, I feel like you are a traveler. You're not just about there. Let me see how to describe. Some people, when they're going on journeys, it's all about, I'm trying to get someplace, and I can be guilty of that. If I'm got 5 kids in the van, we are getting to Florida. Forget bathroom stops.
Right.
But at the same time, there are people who they live life that way too. It's all about this goal they're trying to get to, and there's nothing about the journey itself. But you give me the impression, somebody, that you are a traveler, but the journey, the travel itself, you enjoy that. You're present in it. You're very present in the moment of your journey you're living through.
Oh, yeah, because from a socioeconomic standpoint, growing up in South Florida, being poor, we got to move a lot. Okay. I was like, I just hung a poster up. Mom, what you talking about? She's like, I can't make the rent today. So we got to go. And I'm just like, okay, well, this was nice. And I remember, my elementary years, there was one year that I think we changed schools 3 times in the same school year.
Wow.
And so 2 things, that and Hurricane Andrew in 1992, right? Mom was divorcing my stepdad and that family. Ooh. And we moved into an apartment complex. We literally just moved in. And Mom, you could tell, she was really trying her best to, one, fix some of the decisions that she had made to stay for a while in that relationship. But now that I know as an adult, she was financially tied to that relationship, so she couldn't get up, So there was that abuse on that, and women experience that today. We call that, the purse abuse, you know. And so she needed to save money and squirrel money away in order to move into this apartment that we moved in. And it was first floor. It was, it had the sliding glass. Just picture it, like a Florida hotel.
I can picture it, because especially the way, you guys aren't seeing this because this is just audio, but you should see her hand movement. You're definitely a Latina. Your hands and the doors and everything.
It was these nice, blinds. I mean, sliding glass door, balcony facing the pool, palm trees around the pool. I mean, white pool chairs. I mean, I've never seen that, because we'd go to the community pool, and it was these iron chairs out there, and you just burn on them. And so I was like, look at that. Look at it's white, and it's nice, and it's wood. It's not going to burn us. And we're going to have so much fun in this pool. And here it is, August, right? So we're just so excited. And we just moved our last piece of box in our, and I'm looking and I'm like, so it's a 2-bedroom, and my brother has his stuff in because he's lucky, right? So automatically 2 girls got to share a room together, right? And my brother gets the smallest room, but it's all for himself. And we're putting our stuff in this room and hanging up. And my sister, she has just always been very, she sees everything, super observant. And she's like, Mom, where are you sleeping at?
Yeah.
And she's like, don't worry about that. Don't you like the apartment? Let me show you the pool. Let me show you the balcony. And then I was super distracted. I was like, ooh, okay. And the kitchen looks nice. And it wasn't until we were having conversations later in life, Mom was sleeping in the living room. Yeah. That was the sacrifice. I want them to feel comfortable. And but as soon as we put our box in, we hadn't unboxed anything. We get a knock at the door, and it was the National Guard saying that we needed to evacuate. We were under evacuation orders. Then the second knock on the door, and they were like, welcome to the apartment complex. I'm your neighbor, but I'm going to be leaving to the shelter. You should probably get there too. And here's a gallon of water. I know you were just moving in, and a packet of Kool-Aid. Well, if you've ever fixed Kool-Aid, you know you need sugar.
Yeah.
Right?
I'd rather have the water without the Kool-Aid if I don't have sugar.
Thank you.
And I don't like water.
And so my mom is frantic, because this is before cell phones, people. Okay. Yeah. And so she had to go to the manager's office, the property manager, and ask to use the phone. And sure enough, we needed to evacuate. So we go more inland, but we lost everything.
Wow.
We literally lost everything.
The first time possibly that you felt like, this is a home that I want to call mine, and it ate your stuff.
It ate it. ate it alive.
Yeah.
Nothing was saved.
So where'd you guys go next?
We lived in a 2-bedroom duplex with my uncle and 3 other families. Took baths outside from a well water with a kiddie pool. That's all we had. I mean, it was either that or live in the tents. It was called Tent City. So the Army came in and put up tents, and there was cots. But we figured, we've got floor space here in this duplex. And so it was 3 families under one roof, and we had a generator, and we didn't have light and power. The whole electric grid, if anybody knows about Hurricane Andrew, Google it, do a YouTube video. It was devastation. It was really bad. And so those 2 things, right? We were constantly moving, experienced a lot of abuse, socioeconomics, made us impact on that move. And then you've had natural disaster that took everything. When I left and I had that blue tote, it didn't feel brand new to me. Like, I knew that feeling. Yeah. I've experienced that feeling as a child. So as an adult, I was like, if I could do it then, I can do it now. Yeah. And so I embraced the fact that the material can go. What's most important is us, is our life, is what we can do. And sometimes I get lost in that, because we get lost in the day-to-day and what we're doing, and we forget, hey, what are we doing about ourselves? What are we really accomplishing? What have we done? Like, we can get into this system, right? Go into autopilot mode and totally forget to look up. And then we realize when we do, we're like, man, 5 years is gone. 6 years is gone. Yeah. What am I really doing? And I think if we can stop more often, man, we could be better people. Yeah. So I'm not afraid of moving and starting over or carrying a tote. I'm good with it. And I think when I talk to women who are coming out of that and are living in that desperation of having experienced so much, or household, nice cars, expensive retail therapy, right? Yeah. And then going and living in a shelter for battered women. And they don't know how to sit well with that. I sit with them because I can tell them years of experience of how to maneuver through that. And that's what I do, like when I come across women who are challenged with losing all of that. And that's grief. And I get that. Yeah. And I get that. I don't disrespect the fact that they're crying over material things. I think I'm sure,
there's stuff is just stuff, but we deal with stuff wrong in this country. There's a traditional way of dealing with the physical things and the memory they carry that is very, very good and real. I mean, we turn it into consumerism here in America, but there is, beneath all of that messed up fake veneer, there is a reality to the importance of stuff and the way it can concretely pass on values and memories and belonging from one generation to the next. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that if we can really, boil down that stock, right? If we're making stew, if we're boiling it down for that good stock, what are we creating that sauce for? There's some things that are really important. Like, I don't ever want to lose pictures again. Yeah. I'm glad that everything's saved on the cloud, but then I'm also saving it on another platform, because I'm like, what if I can never what if I forget my password?
What if that company goes bankrupt?
Exactly. So I'm just I might want to go to Walgreens and print some of these out just to have. And I think that's been the most valuable to me, is pictures. Yeah. But everything else is replaceable.
Well, I can think of one other thing that you value that's not replaceable.
What?
Knowledge.
Well, yeah.
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 Which, speaking of knowledge, I was going to get this in here eventually.
No.
But because I'm constantly pushing you, that there is some knowledge that you're talking about possibly getting, particularly because you see a need. You see that there's a need for advocacy that people don't have. And so hopefully one day you will have this title.
Yeah. A lot of people have said, oh my God, why would you want to do that? It's dime a dozen, but it's not dime a dozen for my community. Yeah. I want to become I want to get my Juris Doctorate. I want to become an attorney and advocate for people, especially for women of color, especially within my community. I think even now, the importance of understanding constitutional law, immigration law, and then also like human rights. So I know that's a lot. That's 3 major areas. I probably need to figure out what I want to actually, dive into. But I know that those 3 are important to me. My parents migrated here, worked in agriculture and fields. So I have a heart for that. And I think that, immigration law is important. And I was at a meeting not too long ago. I think it may have been a year and a half or so. But someone said, a community member said, we don't need any foreigners here.
Wow.
And it just hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, how bold you were to say that, sir, because you're the foreigner.
Yeah. When I encounter things like that, what I wonder is, if you'll say that with me here, what are you saying when I'm not?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's hard to find allyships for people to, like, when they do say that and you're not in the room, to stand up and speak for you, And I try to be really, like, hardcore about that. Like, you're not going to make that comment and me not say anything and still call you my friend. Like, and then from women's rights and abuse and defending women who have are leaving domestic violence, or so I don't know where my career will take me. But those are the 3 areas that my heart is where I want to advocate for, and especially for our community, for people of color, for the Latin community. I think that we need more attorneys that is willing to advocate for people. And so, and I'm constantly cheering you on and pushing you on, because I do believe that you're right. We need that. It is need, and I say we, and people might say, well, Kamar, you're not Hispanic and you're not a woman, but I need it too. Because, and I'm paraphrasing greatly here, what Martin Luther King Jr. said about, an injustice anywhere, or injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere, or something. Yes.
Yeah, something like that. But the idea is that if women of color are needing advocacy, and pretend I don't have daughters, I do. So you could say, well, but even if I didn't have daughters, if I didn't have a wife, I was a single man with no children, my mom was dead, still it matters to me, because if the women in the world I inhabit are in need, then my world is in need.
Absolutely.
And I'm in need.
Yeah.
And so I'm pushing you on it, because I say that, every little bit that you can do, I see your passion, and I see your heart. And like I said, I've enjoyed being able to try and serve in the same community as you these last couple of years. Like, it's been nice. And it's not to say to people who are listening, like, oh, because you guys agree on, we don't have to agree on everything. We don't need to agree on everything. We agree on the important things, that community matters, that we're here to serve the community. And that means treating people the way they deserve to be treated, no matter how it makes me feel.
Right. 100%.
And pretty much, as long as we focus on those things, we don't have time for anything else.
Yeah. And we need allies. At the end of the day, in every area of I say the big 8, like for the protected classes, we need allies to be able to speak. We need we need allies. So when you see, I think Bell Hooks said it perfectly in one of her books that's titled, Feminism is for everybody. So doing the right thing is for everybody. It shouldn't be just, oh, you're an advocate or you're an activist, whatever you want to put that title on me. But you should be doing this type of work too. Everybody should be doing this type of work.
Yeah.
If you believe in humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so we're getting towards the end, and I'm going to ask you my standard question thing. So my last quote here.
Ooh.
Okay. This quote is from the play The Crucible, which it's near and dear to my heart, because I actually was in the play. I actually had the part of John Proctor, and this is one of my favorite lines that he had in the play. And so the quote is towards the end, he's getting ready to essentially face his execution, and he's appealing to me. He says, because it is my name, because I cannot have another in my life, because I lie and sign myself to lies, because I am not worth the dust on the feet of them that hang. How may I live without my name? I have given you my soul. Leave me my name. So the question for you, you only have one name you can hold on to. That like, this is it. You're like, I will die on this hill. I will die for this name. What is the name that you're willing to die for?
Love.
Okay. Why?
That's the fundamental ask. You know, what did Christ say? Love your God with all your heart.
Yeah.
And love each other. And so if I'm a follower of Christ, if I'm doing any role, motherhood, professional, career-driven, community, volunteer, advocate, activism, whatever you want to put on me, sister, aunt, I want to do it with love. Yeah. And if I can't do it, then take me now.
All right. Well, that's good. Thank you, Idalia Clara Luna.
Yes.
There we go.
Flower that grows on a clear moon.
Yes, that is beautiful. And you know how I'm with my kids and mine. Like, I love names. I do.
Yes.
And so thank you, though, for taking out time because, I mean, again, I know that you have a very important, busy life that you lead, like, and what you do with the community matters. But I'm thankful that you're willing to take time out to sit with me and to share your names and your story with everybody else because this is a project to me that I think is, hopefully it'll make a difference in the world. But if it doesn't, if it never does, you make a difference in my world. And I appreciate having you in my life and in this community.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kumar, for inviting me.
Oh, that's one of my names I don't share with people too much. All right. Well, that's it for this time. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any institution, organization, or corporation. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. All persons who participated did so of their own free will and speak for themselves only, regardless of any personal affiliations they may possess. This podcast has been a production of Salt.Light.Love Ministries. All rights reserved.